Hi everyone, I hope you're all having an awesome day. I ordered an eBay reversing camera kit and I installed it on my Ford Falcon wagon, and I made this video a step-by-step process showing you all how I did it, and in hopes that it will help someone in the future, not only seeing what the video quality is like, but also to see if it's worth the hassle. My review, actually guys, I wish I did this sooner. It's so awesome being able to reverse with much more confidence, and it's really easy to install, and for 40 bucks you can't go wrong. I mean, check this out, we get really up close and personal to this car, and we can reverse with so much confidence. You know, it's really, as we can see, really close, but how awesome is this, guys? So here's a quick montage, guys, showing you all in the video ahead the wiring step by step, installing the camera, connecting it to a reverse light here, and then how to take the wiring to the front of the car so that you can use your eyeballs to see what's behind you. So guys, yeah, there's not a lot involved, and I can really recommend buying this kit and being able to reverse with confidence. Let's get to it. Epic, guys. So first I unboxed everything that came in the kit, and I was just testing it off my car battery, and as we can see, it was a really awesome video and I was really happy with the quality. It wasn't grainy, it was very watchable. Okay, so this is the pack that arrived from eBay. Okay, having a look on the inside, we'll see the goodies. So to start off with, we've got mounts for the display. That's a adhesive type. This is a suction cup style for the display. Then we've got the camera, and this type that I've opted for, it's actually a 360-degree maneuverable camera, and there's quite a few little settings I'll talk about in a few moments. Next up, we've got some of the 6-meter length video lead. We've got a power cable for the camera. We've got a power cable for the display. We've got a little connective wiring for the camera. There's an included hole saw, kind of for a drill, so it will let you cut a hole to mount the camera. And then of course we've got the screen. I've got a 5-inch screen model. There are some 4.3 inch, but I would definitely recommend getting the larger screen. And of course some of the instructions. Okay guys, let's get started. So I'd like to show you all initially, very loosely, what to do with the wiring. Feel free to skip ahead if you just want to see how it's done and how I actually trace the wiring if you know what to do. But really, what's involved is getting power to the screen and also getting power to the camera. So if we connect this power connection cable, we'll see on the end of it is a red and a black wire. And on this end is the actual video lead. So there's a video signal that goes and stretches 6 meters long, and you want to take that all the way to the camera side. So this is the camera. There's a male connection here for the power, and this is the female connector for the camera. And once these two are connected, the other end of this adapter gives you the plugs needed. One takes the video lead, which will let you connect it to the front of the car with this yellow plug. So you'll be able to plug that into here. And then this other end of it, we'll see that little red plug. And this is where we connect the other power lead. So again, this power lead has a positive and a negative. And I'll show you all one option that you can do for connecting the power from the reverse light all the way to the screen, so that whenever the reverse light turns on, the camera turns on, and the front screen turns on, showing what the camera can see. So just a little closer, I want to show you all, this is the power lead that actually powers up the camera. Now what we want to do is connect this red positive from the camera. We actually want to connect it to this red lead coming from one end of the video lead. So here we have 6 meters, and as we can see on either end is one of the yellow male connectors of the RCA, and each one has a red positive wire. So what we can do is actually share, or let's say piggyback, the positive from the reverse light. So if we connect these two red wires, so one positive is from the wiring of the camera, and connect it to the red pigtail end on the video lead, and we connect this to an earth, every time the reverse bulb, which we connect here, and will actually turn on the camera. And as the camera is actually turned on, that same positive travels through the video lead, the 6 meters, and actually will come out of this end onto this red wire. And if we connect that red wire to the positive power output of the actual display unit, and we connect these two together, so the positive of the screen going to the positive that's gone through the video lead, that will mean that every time the reverse light turns on, that the actual screen will turn on as well to show us what the camera can see. So very simple. When you put it into reverse, the reverse light, which is connected at this red positive here, will mean that the signal and the power from the reverse light will turn on the camera and will go travel through the 6 meters into this positive lead, which is then connected to the positive of the display, which will turn the display on. So I hope that makes sense, guys. Maybe it will make more sense as we watch the video, but let's get to it. So I first started off by having a look through where I wanted to connect the camera. So here we can see I wanted to connect the camera in the middle of this garnish area of the boot lid. Now on the sedans or any other kind of make and model, you want to see where you can easily take the wiring into the car. So in this case, being a wagon, I went through and removed all of the trim here. So there were some clips initially like this. Using some trim removal tools, I removed the clips that were holding the carpet area here onto the back of the car. Basically, guys, what we want to do is remove anything that's holding the inner trim of your tailgate or of your boot lid. When you remove this trim, that'll give you the access to be able to take the wiring from inside the car to then be able to actually push it into the number plate area, or in my case, to that garnish area of the boot lid. So here I was just removing the last bits of carpeting, finally got the carpet out the way, and then look at this mofo. Thankfully it was out of this world, but it definitely gave me a fright. Alright, so this is where I found I was able to just remove the carpeting. This is for the Ford Falcon wagon specific, 2 little hidden clips, and with those clips removed, that carpeting is out the way. Okay, so here, guys, we've got a 10mm nuts. There's 4 of them, and I found 3 of them. A short, sockets wouldn't actually work to fit to actually reach to the nuts. So you need to get a 10mm deep socket, which will actually then work to be able to undo the nuts. And with that done, you'll see here there's 1, 2, 3, and 4 in these positions there. So let's get to work undoing those 4 nuts. You'll see some access holes here. That's 1, 2, 3, and the 4th one is behind this little regulator area here. And so with that 4th one done, we'll be able to see that the garnish just falls straight out. In my case here, guys, what I found was disconnecting the number plate lighting. I was then able to disconnect and remove the whole of the garnish, which then made it a lot easier for me to be able to work on installing the camera. But before the camera, I wanted to actually work out how I can take the camera wiring through this grommet into the car. So I found I was able to actually pull this grommet out with the wiring for the number plate lights. You can disconnect that from inside. And with that done, we can now work on getting the wiring through the grommet and then mounting the camera to that garnish. Okay, so the plan here, if we drill a hole through the grommet like that, we'll be able to then get the camera wiring through the grommet, which is essentially coming in from outside the car, and then we'll be able to take the wiring into the car through this method. Now this is the hole saw that came included with the kit, which will then enable you to cut a hole to be able to mount your camera. So I started off using that included hole saw and drilling a hole in my desired position for the camera. What I found, guys, was actually what was supplied here and the hole that it created wasn't actually large enough to seat the camera comfortably. What I mean was the hole was too small and the camera actually didn't fit. It didn't actually seat. What really was required was a bigger hole. So I had this little hole driller, I don't know what they're called in this moment, but it can step down and make different hole sizes. I went through and made one or two hole sizes larger, and I found the camera was starting to fit a lot better, but it took a little bit of fine tuning, slowly just widening the hole bit by bit, and then I was able to get the camera to really seat in there nicely. And take your time, guys. Don't do what I did and over drill, because then I found the camera was a bit loose. We can see here it mounted really well, but as we look a bit closer, we can see the hole's just that slightly too large. So just take your time and don't rush that process. But with that done, we can now go through and tuck all the excess wiring through this grommet, and then go back to the car and install this wiring through the boot lid and install that garnish. So here, let's get to it. We can put that camera wiring, once it's pushed through the original Ford factory grommet. This is the excess wiring that we can feed into the actual boot lid itself. And with that fed all the way in, we can then go through tucking the original wiring, so the number plate lights there, and then we can go through, place and push the grommet back into its position, tuck in all that excess wiring from the camera here, and then reconnect the number plate lights. And with that done, we can then go through and seat the garnish and bolt that back in. And that's the first step done with the camera installed and in position. Now what we've got to do, guys, is go through, just double check that it's in a good position, that it's seated well. And in this case, it's very stealthy. I find it's not very visible at all. I'm loving it. Okay, so with that done, we can now go through, bring out all that excess camera wiring and start to kind of tuck in. This is the original number plate light wiring, plug that in, and we can start to actually take the camera wiring through the actual tailgate here. So I used a fishing wire, not a fishing wire, but a coat hanger, I should say, and actually pulled through this camera wiring from that section here all the way up, and I brought the cable out. Now what we need to do is take that camera wiring through this factory grommet and actually take it through into the actual body of the car there. So again, I used that same coat hanger, wrapped the end of the actual cable around the coat hanger like that, and with a bit of patience, I was able to again push this coat hanger and the wire through this factory grommeting here. And it took a little bit of time, a little bit of patience, wriggling it through. Just be careful you don't go ripping any of the wires already in there or the actual grommet itself, the rubber part. And then we can see that I was able to push it through until it came out the other end. So this is going to make sure our camera wire won't get pinched on anything and also won't get wet. And once it's out on the other side, we can then disconnect the coat hanger, remove the coat hanger carefully, pull it back through. Awesome, so that's done. Now with the wiring has gone through the boot lid, through this original wiring, and as you can see here, unfortunately one of the tabs broke, so be careful there, guys. And then we can go and tuck the wiring from the other side into the body and down that pillar. Awesome. So now that we've tucked it down the pillar, we can see the rest of that wiring dangling. So again, we've got it coming from the camera, the wiring then tucked and traced all the way through the sides of the boot lid here, coming out through the bottom, going through this grommet and down the pillar here. Okay, and what I found to actually make life easier to get access to the actual tail light here initially was to go through and remove this trim. Now there's one screw at the bottom here, and then it just clips off and pulls out. With that done, you get access to behind the actual tail light. So there's a clip there, and you can then pull the carpeting back. To take the tail light out here, there's one screw here on the Ford Falcon, and undoing those two screws, you'll see that there's one clipping point on the bottom right of the actual tail light, which is down here, and the tail light itself needs to move outward towards you, so you can pull it out. Awesome. Okay, so the plan here, guys, is to actually go and connect to the positive of the reverse light, which in this case, I've got it in the middle of this tail light here. And previously I'd gone and connected a set of reverse lights, LED lights. So what I'll be looking at doing today is tapping through this grommet here, bringing the positive of the camera through the grommet and connecting it to the reverse light positive. In your case, you might need to splice the wires, but step number one to get the wiring through the car to the tail light was again drilling a hole through the grommet, which is then going to give us access to bring the positive wiring of the camera that came from the actual tailgate itself and down the pillar. We'll be able to then bring that positive through this section here of the actual body. We can then push it through the actual grommet, and with a push through the grommet, we can then go and connect it to the positive of the reverse light. Here, I was just disconnecting my LED reverse lights, the positive connection, and then plugging that back in. But in your case, you will have to strip some of the plastic insulation on your reverse light wiring and then connect your positive to that. But in my case, I found this sufficed really well. I was able to just drill that hole through the grommet, bring the positive through, and once done, push the grommet back in, and then bolt and screw back in the tail light itself. Okay guys, with that done, let's go over here and I can show you all that basically that red positive that we took through to the reverse light was actually part of this power connection that goes to the camera. With that plugged in, we can go and then start to connect the positive from the 6-meter RCA cable. So this is that cable. Doesn't matter which end that you use. When you grab one end, you'll be able to then connect the positive from that yellow end to the positive that we just brought out from the reverse light. So I just wanted to strip some of the insulation, and then what I went through and did was go and actually connect this positive from the RCA cable to the positive that we just brought and connected from the reverse light. So again, stripping some of the wiring from the reverse light positive, connecting it to that reverse light positive here, which then allows us to take this positive power through the 6-meter cable to the front of the car for the power of the display. So with that connected here to the reverse light, what we can go through and do is connect that yellow male to the yellow female and tuck in some of that excess wiring at the back. Okay guys, with most of that wiring tucked out the way, all we've got to do next is connect the earth of the camera. We'll get to that in just a sec. I just wanted to show you all to get behind that carpeting. There was a little clip here. With this clip unclipped, you'll need to unbolt this Torx screw, which is a T25 Torx. With that unscrewed, you'll be able to undo that carpeting. Now let's get to work on getting an earth point for the camera. So what I decided to do here was drill a hole into the body, and then I used a bolt to actually attempt to actually earth that camera. But what I found was I needed to use a proper little blade terminal, and that then meant that it was much easier. I was able to sort out that earth for the camera. So we've got the positive from the reverse light and the earth to the bolt of the chassis here. Now what we can do is essentially take the 6-meter video lead and tuck it along the side of the car to get to the front where the display camera is. So here we can see I was just tucking through the video lead, and tucking it along the side of the carpeting and the seats to the front of the car. I apologize for some of the shaky camera work here. I was starting to run out of time, and I was just focusing on the task at hand, so apologies here for some of the shakiness. Okay, now ideally guys, you want to take the wiring from the back of the car all the way to the front of the car where your display for the reversing camera is going. Now in my case, I decided that I wanted to route the wiring from the back of the car underneath the rear seat here and along the middle section of the rear tunnel, and actually run it alongside the side of the front passenger seat. I decided I didn't want to go across from the driver's side and then take it under the dash, as in this case I never have any middle seat passengers, and I wanted to go directly in the direction towards the camera. So once you'll see here, I got it through the side of the passenger seat loosely. I then went and tucked the excess of this video lead underneath the actual center console. So I wanted to show you all here what I did, initially removing the trim here, taking the cup holders out slightly to give access to the last two clips here, and this center surround part just comes out. With that out the way, there's a screw here, and this side trim just unhooks and removes out. And what I found next was I went through and undid a few more screws, one here, another one here, and the third one here, which then let me use and actually tuck in the wiring from underneath the center console and bring it out. So I used a screwdriver to be able to release the side of that center console and brought my RCA wiring out from underneath the console, tucked in that wiring along the side of the console, the excess. And here we've essentially brought in the video lead from the camera all the way to the front of the car. So with our display mounted up there, which I'll show you how I did that in a few moments later on. Okay guys, so what we've got to do here is go and connect this red positive cable to the power source that turns on the actual screen. And this is the same red cable that we've got on the other end at the back of the car that we actually connected to the reverse light. So with the video lead plugged in, we've got to go with this positive power source for the actual screen. So if we go and connect this male to positive, now we've got a red and black, a positive and negative for the actual display to turn on. And we only want it to turn on when the reverse light is on. So if we go and connect this positive coming from the back of the car and connect it to the positive of the display, and then go and connect this earth to something earthed on the body, the screen will turn on when the reverse light turns on. So I went and actually connected a bit of wire underneath this seat bolt, and then that'll be all the wiring that's done. So I started off with getting the positive of the reverse light connected to the positive of the display, a bit of heat shrinking, and then I went and did the same thing, connected the negative of the display to the negative that I went and connected to the seat bolt. There's a little trim that covers that seat bolt, and I went and brought the wiring from the seat bolt out from under the display, out from under the center console, and did the same thing, connected the earth from the display to the earth of the bolt of the seat, bit of heat shrinking, and that guys is all the wiring done. All you need to do from here is go through and actually put in all of the wiring, tuck it away, make it look nice and neat, and that's it. That's the job done, and that means every time the reverse light turns on, that the actual display will turn on because the camera turns on. It's all synced. I found that I could tuck the wiring underneath this side trim piece here. Now, some others for the Ford Falcon may actually want to have the screen full-time up on the dash, and I guess what you could do is tuck in the wiring along the side of the ICC and the actual dash here, and tuck the wiring out of the way. But what I wanted guys was to avoid anyone smashing the windows and trying to steal this screen here thinking it's something of value. So what I decided was to actually use a magnetic mount, a removable magnetic mount. I bought this from eBay and I put the link in the description below. But I found with a little metal disc on the back of the screen, it's very quick and easy to magnet on and off, and really tuck this screen out of view when I'm not in the car and not really reversing. I didn't really want the screen to be in my vision while driving, so I found that with tucking the cable along the side of that trim, I was still able to actually tuck away the screen when I wanted to. So putting all the trim away, putting the car in reverse now, we can test it for the first time. Look at that guys, it turns on straight away, no issues. As soon as we put in park or drive, screen turns off. As soon as we put it in reverse, 2 seconds later, the screen turns on. How awesome is that, guys? So as easy as that, we can connect a $40 eBay camera kit. Now I do apologize, it may look like there's quite a lot involved, but if you can kind of see the theory behind connecting the reverse light to the actual positive of the screen only turns on when the reverse light turns on, which means the camera turns on as well. And then as soon as the car is out of reverse, you'll find that the camera turns off and the screen turns off as well. So I found with my magneting on and off, this screen for reversing works really well. And of course we've got a great little stowaway area here out of sight. Hopefully thieves will never get tempted to break into the car. But again, if you want to have yours mounted 24/7, go for it, but you just never know, it might be a bit of a risk. But it's such an awesome mod. As we can see, it really gives you so much more kind of peace of mind when reversing. You'll be able to check how far away something is, and in my case I'm able to magnet on and off the screen as I need. And there actually is a display or an option to actually connect a second camera to this screen, but at this point in time I'll leave it at just the reverse camera. And again, if you want, you can tuck your wiring out the way and leave yours up here 24/7. But guys, I hope this video helped. As always, we got to flick something for luck. That's it guys, cheers. And thanks for all the support guys, I really appreciate it. It's awesome to see so many of you on Instagram and chit chat with you on there. So as always, take care and catch you all next time.